program. I would like to request Shri H.J. Srinivas to introduce the speaker as well as the moderator. Over to H.J. Srinivas, please.
Namaste, Gurubhyo Namaha. So I am Srinivasa, Senior Technical Staff from Parliament, Mysore. On this auspicious occasion of Teachers' Day, I have given the privilege to invite your participation in this webinar program organized by Regional Museum of Natural History, Mysore, with the esteemed team of teachers on a special issue, Biological Illustrations, by Professor Shashikala, who is sitting to my right side here, and who is the author of this program also. And the moderator is Srimati Geeta Soumya. She is biology lecturer. Thanking you. Once again, I invite you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas. Now, I welcome all of you, the participant of today's program, and also the speaker as well as the moderator to this occasion. I would like to request Geeta Soumya Madam to continue the program as a moderator. Over to you, Madam, please.
Thank you, sir. On this very special day to mark Teachers' Day, which is actually an honor to all the teachers, I would like to I'm privileged to have Professor Shashikala with us. Professor Shashikala is an eminent artist who is an illustrator of biological diagrams. These diagrams, they become so important for a student life, especially the students who are actually thinking of what we can do next. So some students may be well versed or they are very much interested in mathematical science. Some students may be interested in biological science. When do they decide it? According to me, as I have seen, most of the students decide in which side we can move in their high school ages, that is in their teenage. So the teachers are the ones who are going to mold them to which side they are moving on. So here we have Shashikala Madam who can inspire many students to take up biology. So when Shashikala Madam, when the children are in high school classes, especially we can see two set of people over there. One is the group which loves mathematics. Another group is the one which loves life science. The ones who love life science, they have some kind of fear about mathematics or number crunching. Those who are into mathematics, they will be having a fear towards biological science because of two reasons. One reason is that there is a difficulty in remembering the terminologies in biology because most of them are in Latin and Greek. They are originated from there, so they find it difficult. The second one is much more important. It is the diagram which makes them get frightened whether I will excel in this or not, because so much of marks is allocated to diagram or diagram related questions. Most of the long answer questions may have diagram that they have to draw on their examination answer scripts, depending on which their life can be decided. So in this way, how are you going to help our students in getting to know, or how do you make them understand that it is not at all a difficult job, it is an easy thing. If you know the diagram, you can even develop the answers. All these things we want to now learn from you.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Geeta, for explaining about present problems and also the problems faced by the students and also sometimes by the teachers also.
Yes.
And I was in the teaching profession for about 30 years, and I think I know the pulse of students, as you said. Regarding biological science, they fear about the diagrams, thinking that it is difficult to draw, it takes a lot of time, then they will have no time for studying, they have to keep on writing the records, etc., etc. But that fear has to grow. According to me, it is not the subject, but they have to concentrate on the diagrams, whichever subject they choose. Later on in their life, not only in their teenage, but even after that,
Yes, yes.
The medical science student has to draw diagram. An engineering student has to concentrate on drawing diagrams. If you become a teacher, you have to keep on drawing on the board. So there is no end when you say that you will not like to draw diagram.
Yes.
So when there is no choice of that kind, you have to learn how to draw the diagram with great ease, precision, correct, and also you have to make the practice a joyous one. And the concentration makes or gives the joy, makes them perfect. When the work is perfect, always we are pleased, we will be happy with what we are doing, and we will keep on doing it. And I did the same thing for about 30 years. Before that, as a student, I learned diagrams like you and all others. I never felt it very difficult. Maybe that I have a little knack of drawing the diagram. But somehow, drawing inspired me to draw very good records. And because of the same quality, my teacher promoted me, H.B. Professor Devaraj Sarkar. He promoted me to draw diagrams for the textbooks also.
That is
So I have drawn diagrams for the textbooks, and I have a work experience of about 20 years in making illustrations to biological textbooks, theses, high school textbooks, PU textbooks, etc. And about which I am very happy today. When I look back, I am really happy, and I thank each and everybody who promoted my art. It was a science and art. Later on, I started thinking like that.
Okay, you say that you have been doing it as a science and an art. As a form of art, did you have any exhibits? Did you start your journey with your exhibitions? Were they showcased somewhere that they
Yes.
are inspiring others?
Yes, I exhibited my diagrams firstly in the Museum of Regional Museum of Natural History, Mysore, where my drawing exhibition was first done. The exhibition of biological illustrations was done some 3-4 years back here, and it was a great success. And I have great regards for Mysore and also the museum and the scientists who are here. Mr. Indresh especially, he encouraged me to have the first exhibition here, and later on, with the courtesy and also encouragement by our director of Environmental Sciences, Madam Naz Rizvi, she took the exhibition to other museums in India. I completed totally 3 exhibitions. The second one was held in RMNH Bhopal, and the third one was held in Savai Madhopur of Rajasthan, and the exhibition is still going on. And my exhibition, it has such diagrams which are neatly prepared and also exhibited in the 3 museums, and all the staff of these museums have taken lots of trouble and lots of pains to encourage me and also to help the students as much as they can, and the exhibition is a great success academically.
Okay. Madam, what is the medium of your drawings here?
So I used to draw the diagrams. It is something like an ancient art where they used to use quill for drawing. ಅಂದರೆ ಗರಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದ್ರು ನೋಡಿ, ಓಲೆ ಗರಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಗರಿನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಂಕಲ್ಲಿ ಎದ್ದೆ ಎದ್ದೆ ಬರೆಯೋದು. It is similar to that. So I used to use this paper, what we call ivory sheet. This is a thick cardboard-like but with shiny surface, and this helps in making a very beautiful sketch. As I show you, like this, we can make a very beautiful sketch. And then I used to use the wax coated thin transparent sheet also. This also has a very smooth surface on which any diagram can be made, and the drawings were done on this for the purpose of printing in textbooks, for etching and other printing work. And I used to use this ink. This is called Indian ink, which is indelible, and it has a quick drying capacity, so it won't smudge. So I used to use this ink, and I used to use these sharp nibs, metallic nibs, which are called crow quills, and dipping this nib in the ink and drawing the line. So I used to draw all these diagrams using the scroll quill and then this indelible ink. And for making the circle, we had special compass for dipping this in ink and making a circle. So we had some instruments, some materials to draw using ink.
Okay. Do you make the crow quills or is it available readily?
It is readily available in the stationery shops. So anyone can buy, but nowadays no illustrator is using this. It was an art of the past. Nowadays everything is digitized and photoshopped. And before that we had the same method. And luckily I was the only woman illustrator who did a long service in my society.
That makes us proud.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Madam, can you illustrate and show us here how a particular diagram can be drawn? For example, we see two types of illustrations for children, especially the school-going children. Some of the diagrams are examination based. They have to draw during the examination as a part of their question paper, and that has to be done quite quickly using only the lines. The second type of diagrams, they are done in the record books, practical record books. Those have to be like very neat, shaded, or they have to put the dots and show the three-dimensional picturization, things like that. So can you just illustrate both the things, taking some examples?
Sure.
For example, some plant tissues.
I'll try. Thanks so much. So now, my biological illustrations can be made easy to draw either by a teacher or by a student, as Madam was telling, that examination oriented and for practical work, etc., etc. But I don't differentiate like that, because the diagrams have to be drawn neatly every time, whether it is a small test or an examination or a learning process or a presentation, whatever it is, PowerPoint presentation, whatever it is, every time a diagram has to be drawn neatly and correctly with specification. The technique is very simple, and as far as I realize, there is no subject in the world, there is no knowledge in the world where without a diagram, a description can be complete. So you know that in learning process, diagram is needed and also the description is also needed. And they go complementary to each other and both are integrated. Diagrams are integrated with the texts. So according to me, diagram or an illustration is a visual expression of the text. If you draw the diagram, that means you are describing the text in the form of a diagram. If you know the text, you can draw the diagram. With a little bit of imagination, with a little bit of scientific facts, you can complete the diagram. So they should complement each other, and also they should support each other in such a way that a student can get knowledge complete and also he or she can get good marks. And as you said, some part of the marks is reserved to draw the diagrams. In our time, there were questions asked only to draw the diagrams. So such diagram questions are quite easy. And I advise my students or any student for that matter to select, that is, questions with a diagram in any subject, whether it is botany, zoology, chemistry, physics, mathematics. You take any subject, you take history, maps have to be drawn. So from class 1 to PhD or even beyond that, postdoctoral, or take any technical course, without a diagram there is no subject. So diagrams have to be drawn with precision, in the sense technically the diagram must be correct. I don't say it is beautiful. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, but a diagram has to be correct. Correct to the fact that we write as an answer. So students usually nowadays they have in their textbooks colored diagrams where the lines are not very clear and the lines overlap over the colors or the cover overlaps the lines. So they cannot make out the lines properly, and even the lines have to be very clear. And as I say, a diagram is a bunch of gorgeous lines and dots. It includes large number of lines which should look gorgeous, and it includes dots in the form of shading or in the form of filling. So that includes dots. So they have to be very, very clear in representation. So as I said, when we learn a diagram, we are learning about a diagram that is to visualize the text or to describe the text. So that's why diagram learning is so important for any student, any scientific student or science student. It is a very important process. That's why record making has been made compulsory. From class, high school to colleges, the students are practice to draw or maintain a practical record for which marks is allotted in the practical examination. So that is the meaning behind it. So it is a learning process. Drawing is a learning process, and any picture in a scientific book is called an illustration, and the illustration is to be complete in the form of description. So I will take an example as to how you have to draw the lines. Nowadays, even teachers have PowerPoint presentations in their classes, and even in online classes, the scope of teaching how to draw the diagram is so minimalized. So a student does not know where to start the diagram drawing, how to draw. So that's why whatever points that I have gained or learned through my rich experience, I am going to give it to you and show you how you can draw the diagrams. So to draw the diagrams, you need certain drawing materials. Like you must have the drawing pencils. Instead of using ordinary pencil, please use drawing pencils of two kinds. One is HB, which lights lighter, with the help of which you can sketch a diagram before you complete it, or before you darken it, before you complete it. So you must have a 2B pencil which is twice black as HB. That gives darkness or brilliance to the diagram. So you must have two kinds of pencils, HB and 2B, and a soft eraser or a rubber which erases the wrong lines without smudging it. You must have a very good rubber, and always you must have a sharpener to sharpen the pencil. The pencil tip should be sharp every time you draw a line or you put a dot, so that the lines will be very clear and the lines do not overlap, and the lines will give a beautiful effect that is in your sketch. Finally, as I showed you in these pictures, the lines will be very nice. The lines will be very, very nice. The same effect can be given using HB and 2B pencils. Please don't use 3B, 4B, 6B and other pencils because they are very dark and they may get smudged, and also the darkness will be so much that it may stick on to the next page also. That's why avoid all these pages which an artist use. Use only 2B and HB pencils. And then you must have a 6 inches plastic scale for labeling the parts. Except for labeling, don't use geometric instruments even to draw a circle. A circle has to be drawn with free hand. Okay? Don't use geometry instruments to draw biological illustrations. Unless you have to write a beaker or you have to write a funnel, don't use any geometrical instrument. For labeling, use a small scale. That's about all the materials that you require to draw a neat, complete diagram. So now, let me show you as an example. I'll take the structure of a cell first because it has a large number of lines, large number of components in it. Let me show you how to draw the structure of a typical cell. Then, as Madam said, I'll try to show you the different types of cells with different shapes and structure. So now, usually we depict an animal cell. That is about the ultra structure of an animal cell when we take it. We show a round cell. So, I drew a line now. Because I have no option of having a lighter chalk and a darker chalk, I use only a chalk paste. But you can use a HB pencil to draw the outline of the diagram. And you should know how much the diagram should be a size in your paper. Because all your answer sheets, they are of A4 size. The size will be like this, A4 size. So, I don't advise you to draw a very big diagram which covers the whole page. Because if you cover the whole page with a diagram, you will have no space for labeling the parts. And also, such a diagram you cannot complete in a short period of time. As she said in the examination, you have to be smart, you have to be very quick, and you have to utilize less time to complete your diagram. So you have to choose the size of the diagram in a A4 size sheet of paper. So for which, if it is a very complicated sketch, you use half the page or complete page also, but let the diagram be of the same size or a little bit bigger than the size of the diagram in your textbook. Say for example, I'll show you this space. Say this diagram. This diagram, you can see this. This is something like an A4 size sheet. If you write such a big diagram, any diagram, it is more than enough. So utilize half of the page or a complete page, but let the size of the diagram be this big and have enough space for labeling. If the labels are too many, have space on either side to label the parts. If the labels are less in number, have much space on the right side, have less space on the left side to label the parts neatly and correctly. And if a diagram is horizontal like this, say for example, a fish diagram. You draw a fish diagram like this. It is horizontal. So if the diagram is horizontal like this, you should not label either on the right or the left because you don't have space over there, especially in a small sheet of paper. I can draw any type of diagram, any type of labeling on the board, but not in the paper. So better distribute your labels below the diagram and above the diagram. Okay? If the diagram is horizontal, not vertical, then label the parts above and below the diagram, that is with neatness. Select a few, say about 8 labels are there, 4 here, 4 below. Like that you can choose. And no line should cross over the diagram when you label the parts, about which I am going to tell you later. So this is how the shape and the size of the diagram should be on the paper. So you have to restrict the size of the diagram for easy representation, and also in a short period of time you can complete your sketch without much hassles, and also you will have enough time for a review also. So that's about the size. Then about the shape. See, you take any material, you take anything, it has a shape. Say for example, our body is shaped like this, and a chalk piece is shaped like this. Okay? So, if you want to write any object, you are doing only copying. I don't mean to say that you are copying from the person who is sitting next. But always students copy the diagram which has been drawn on the board or which has been represented on a chart on the board or whatever it is. Or you are copying a diagram from the textbook. So, what you are doing is copying a diagram as it is. So that is the most important thing that you have to do. So copying is like something like Xeroxing. You have to write it the same way. If I say the duster is rectangular like this, it should be rectangular, okay? Rectangular like this. Or if I say something is cylindrical, it should be cylindrical in shape. So you have to concentrate on the shape of the object first. So in order to make a shape, you have to use, in the beginning of drawing an illustration, you use only HB pencil. So to give a shape, you draw a very thin line which is only visible to you. That's all. As thin as possible, and make a shape of the object or the specimen or the animal or the plant under study. So this is how you have to shape. Right shape. If the shape is not correct, erase it, correct it. If you darken the line, then erasing becomes very difficult. There will be smudges on the paper, and even the paper gets spoiled. That's why concentrate on the shape of the diagram, size of the diagram, make an overall outline in the beginning. After making the overall outline, go on sketching with the HB pencil only the other structures which are inside the diagram. Say for example, a cell has a single nucleus in the center or away from the center, depending upon the type of cell. But when you are drawing the diagram of a typical cell, the so-called typical cell which do not exist in nature, but it is just a diagram or a diagrammatic sketch. So the nucleus should be in the center, and it should be about 1/10 of the volume of the whole cell itself. So you should not make a very big nucleus of this size, or you should not make a very small nucleus of this size. So what I mean to say here is the parts of the contents should be proportionate to each other as we describe in the text. So proportion is also important. The size is important, shape is important, then the proportion between different parts are important. Now the other important structures of the cells, they are the mitochondria. You know that the mitochondria, they may be cylindrical or elongated, or they may be rounded, or any other shape or size like this.
Sausage.
Okay, so you have to draw the outlines of mitochondria like this using the same HB pencil. Now the Golgi will be situated here with some cisternae and some vacuoles and others. So there is a location for this, definite location. Concentrate on the location and place the Golgi just over the nucleus itself, and also once again sketch Golgi. Then we think about, or we are going to write about the endoplasmic reticulum, which once again consists of finger-shaped processes, a reticular network, which usually connect the nuclear membrane to the plasma membrane. So you sketch the endoplasmic reticulum. So in a cell, you have a representation of, say, one endoplasmic reticulum without granules and the other one with granules. So don't make it crowded. Have a few representation of mitochondria, a few endoplasmic reticulum, and then the centrosome here with two centrioles, okay, and some 1 or 2 vacuoles when it is an animal cell. Then you have to fill the contents of the nucleus. And you know that nuclear membrane is porous with 2 membranes, adjacent membranes. Okay, that has criteria and has to be taken care of. Then the chromosomes will be in the form of inconspicuous network of thread-like structures. So for which you always use only HB pencil, don't use dark pencil. So like this, you have to sketch a diagram first using HB pencil, then take 2B pencil and darken the diagram. So when you draw the lines, when you darken the line, the care should be taken to see that the lines are bold enough, they are uniformly thick, etc. Let me show you now. So over the light line, you start making it dark using 2B pencil, you darken the line. The line should be firm, uniformly thick. It should not be hazy. It should not be wavy. It should not be unsteady. It should not be broken. Because some people, they have the habit of drawing a line like this, patchwork line. Don't do that anytime. So the line should be bold, smooth, continuous, then strong enough to be bold, and then uniformly thick. Using a sharp tip pencil, that texture can be achieved. Not with a chalk paste, which becomes blunt in one second. Okay? Like that, you have to darken the diagram. Now similarly, the nuclear membrane. Darken. Then show the pores, nuclear pores. Draw the double line. When you draw double lines, the lines should be parallel to each other. So you take care to draw the lines exactly parallel to each other. Don't go away from the other line like this. Always make the lines parallel to each other. That gives correctness and also neatness. So then represent the nucleolus. And to represent the nucleolus, we use dots. You make a round sketch. 1 or 2 nucleoli may be present. So use dots. I told you that a diagram consists of large number of lines and dots sometimes. So about lines I have told you. Now I tell you something about dots. The dots should not be done like this. Taka, 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 taka. Irregularly, it should not be done. Because this gives a very bad effect. So when you put a dot, the dot should be round, they should be adjacent, they should be lying next to the other dot, they should not overlap, they should not be uneven in thickness like this. You have to arrange the dots like this. It is very easy with a pencil which has a sharp tip. It is very easy to make rounded dots. Not possible with a chalk piece, once again I am telling you. But you can do very well with the pencil. So put the dots like this. Arrange them. ರಂಗೋಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಚುಕ್ಕಿ ಇಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಥರ ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ಗುಂಡು ಗುಂಡು ಚುಕ್ಕಿಗಳನ್ನ ಇಡಬೇಕು. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ನೋಡೋದಿಕ್ಕೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ನೆಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. And the same kind of dots can be used in shading also. Say for example, if there is a cylindrical structure can be given a dimension by putting some dots. If some dots are put like this, it will give a 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional effect. So to give dimension, you can shade with dots, similar dots. You should not shade like this. Shading with the pencil like this and then smearing over it. Never do that, because that is not scientific work. So if you have to shade minimally using dots only, or little lines, little thin lines are enough for shading. So this is about the dots and lines that you have to practice, and it is very easy for youngsters like you who have drawn diagrams from your small age. Even a child of 1 year, if he is asked to draw Papa or Mama, he will draw this round circle and 2 hands, 2 legs, lines and circle and some dots for the eyes. So you are used to so much drawing the diagram from your childhood. So you will develop expertise as you grow. as you practice from class 1 till you complete your higher education. So that practice of drawing a diagram will make you perfect, and the perfect diagram is always advantageous, whether you like it or not, or whether it is for a small test, or whether it is only for a record, or whether it is only for a display on the wall, or whether it is an examination, or whether it is pleasing somebody apart from you. The matter is the same. If you draw it neatly, always you will be benefited, as Madam told. So about 50% or nearly 50% of the marks will go to diagrams. So a good diagram will give you 50% of marks. Don't you think that it is very easy to score marks in biology? And she was telling about remembering difficult names, which are in Latin and Greek. But many of the English words have been derived from Latin and Greek. Don't we know the meaning? Why can't you learn some more words? Why can't you know the meaning of other words, especially in biological science? It is not at all difficult, only it is that you have to mind to learn and know the dictionary meaning of the word. If you know the meaning, you will never forget. If I say, my name is Shashikala, if I have a name, you will remember me as Shashikala. If you don't know my name, you can't remember me much. So that's how you can remember the words. If you know the meaning of the word, it is much more easy to remember, and also it will make your study simpler, easier, and also an elaborate one. So without knowing the meaning of any word, you cannot have a complete knowledge. Not only that, you cannot give your complete performance in your examination. That's why each subject has a vocabulary of its own, which you have to learn compulsorily. If you take a computer, all the words are new. Don't you learn them? Don't you know about their functions? Similarly here, new words, new meanings, learn them. This is the age to learn. If you learn it properly, it will benefit you till your cadence is completed. So there is no loss in knowing about
Yes.
the
Learning
entire thing.
vocabulary is quite important. Just like that, I would like to ask you one more thing. In biological illustration, some diagrams are symmetrical. They may be having bilateral symmetry or radial symmetry. Some diagrams will not be having any particular symmetry. So the diagrams which do not have a particular way of drawing, children find it very difficult. For example, brain, small intestine, they won't know how many lines to draw, how to turn it around. So how this problem can be tackled?
So once again, we should never use the word problem when it comes to study, or when it comes to perfection. We should never use the words problem, difficulty, forgetting. All these words must be avoided, because the age of the children is so that they can never forget. So when you see a movie, can you forget it? You cannot. When you see a picture, you should never forget. So you will not forget. But it is just a reason to say that when you score less marks, easy to say that you don't remember. That cannot happen at all, because all the young minds, they have enough space in storage to remember a visual picture or an audio clipping or any word taken or given by anybody else in the world. Whatever noise you voice or hear from around, it will be recorded in your memory. Especially deep-rooted memory. Always I give an example of a nursery rhyme. Children, whatever nursery rhyme that you have learned, do you still remember or have you forgotten? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, have you forgotten? You cannot, because it has been recorded so well, you cannot forget. So that should not be a reason. And then, if that is the reason, then there will be no good results. No good results. So this is about how to draw the lines and how to put the dots. And next I'll come to the next point, that is
Symmetry.
About symmetry she is asking. So as you know, amongst the two kinds of living things, plants do not have a definite symmetry. Many of them, they do not have a definite symmetry. They grow asymmetrical because of their unlimited growth. But in the case of animals, the growth is limited to a certain age. They will acquire a shape, they will have a definite symmetry by which we can identify an animal. So, whatever may be the case, that's why when we learn about the externals of an animal, we speak of symmetry also. We say that an amoeba is shapeless. Some people say that it is shapeless. But now I will draw the shape. Can you tell me what is this? Can you identify this? This is amoeba. You can write an amoeba like this, or you can write an amoeba like this also. This is also amoeba, but has no definite shape. But it has a shape. The shape is not definite, but it has a shape. You can identify it. So that's why animals are identified by their shape also. Can you fail to recognize an elephant? You will not. A rat? No. Because all of them, they have a definite shape. So, the shape may has a symmetry or not. So, you have heard about radial symmetry, bilateral symmetry and other kinds of symmetry. But we use the two words mainly, that is radial and bilateral, too many times in the case of animal studies. Or in the study of any structure, external, internal or sections or whatever it is. So as you know, the radial symmetry has parts of the body all around arranged. Say for example, I'll give you the example of a hydra. The structure of the hydra is something like this, with a cylindrical body and long cylindrical filament-like tentacles.
Nematophores.
Okay. How they are arranged? They are arranged around the mouth. They are arranged around the mouth. Okay. So the parts of the body are arranged around a central point. And if you take a section of the same, then you will get two similar parts. Then that is radial symmetry. That is because of the arrangement of parts. So a symmetry is described based on the arrangement of parts around the central axis. If the parts are arranged around the central axis all around, then that is radial symmetry. If the parts are arranged as in the case of humans, our central axis is this. If the parts are arranged on either side, say 2 hands, 2 ears, 2 eyes, this is bilateral symmetry. Bi meaning two, lateral on sides. So the parts of the body are arranged on the lateral sides of the main axis. So in that case, you have to take symmetry into consideration also when you draw the diagram. So the symmetry will be given in the book. So this is radially symmetrical. This is asymmetrical because it does not have a definite shape. We are bilaterally symmetrical. An elephant is bilaterally symmetrical. Then you have to know the symmetry and draw the diagram. It is an essential part in drawing which we have to care about. So that's about the symmetry part. And then
I asked about some of the diagrams that require irregular representations, as we see the lines in brain.
That's what I told you. Irregular representation. Even there is a shape. They are not shapeless. They have an irregular shape. That you have to concentrate. And my advice to the students, after knowing their difficulties, that in case if you have to draw a diagram which is complicated and about which the symmetry of the
Alright, symmetry. Symmetry matters too much, and in case if you fail to recognize or follow it properly, then say for example the structure of the heart. Is it bilaterally symmetrical? Yes, to an extent. But because of its tiltedness, you cannot make out the symmetry properly. But it is bilaterally symmetrical with two equal upper chambers, lower chambers, and laterally situated blood vessels, veins and arteries. So now, if you have to draw the diagram of a complex picture, my advice to you is, you cannot make out the details in the textbook. Because as I said, the diagrams are colored with lines which are not very clear. The diagram will be small in size, you cannot make out. And even here, Madam said about the digestive system. So some students, they write the mouth here and the anus comes somewhere here, because they take the intestine to a side. Here, symmetry becomes important. So what you do is, you draw two parallel lines. So draw a line like this, like a ladder, two parallel lines. Restrict your diagram only to the line. Don't go outside the line. So that the mouth and the anus, they lie in the same line. Draw a line between the two, thin line. Place the mouth there, anus below, at the same point. So like that, you have to develop certain skills to keep the shape and symmetry of the diagram properly. So take a line sketch from the internet. If you type line diagram of heart or digestive system or brain or ear, these are some of the difficult diagrams they say. They are difficult, we don't know how to draw. If I have enough time, I could have taught you. But because of lack of time on online classes like this, I'll show you now this. This is a very simple diagram of the brain. So take such a simple diagram, practice it, draw it, copy it as it is. And copying is not a difficult thing. Okay? You need not use your intelligence, you need not use any of your creativity as is. It is a very simple thing. Copy this and then you detail the interior, just put some dots here and there. That will make the diagram elevated a little. It will give a brilliant look. Few dots here and there near the lines. Then label the parts. That will complete your diagram. So like that, you have to simplify your work by taking such sketches and then practice it. And I think children of your age or of any age, I can say, even me, by doing it with dedication, with concentration, with interest, will make me learn it just by one attempt. You need not repeat, but you are made to repeat from class 1 to PhD. You have to write about the same amoeba, same cell, with only improvement in learning, that's all. So that's why you don't think that it is difficult. So have a mindset that says you that it is not difficult. I can do it. It is a copying process. Let me do it honestly and correctly. And that will help you to draw a very neat diagram. And a neat diagram without labeling has no meaning, and also it has no value by the attitude of valuers. You must have labels. And if you can label all the parts, remembering it, knowing it, understanding it, you can describe the physiology of heart itself. So label all the parts without making any spelling mistakes, know the meanings of the words, and also by doing so, you will be learning about the text of heart. So, according to me, an illustration is a visual narration of a text. So, when you draw a diagram, you are narrating the text in the form of a sketch. If you say the shape is like this, the symmetry is like this, It has 4 chambers, it has so many blood vessels, it has a wall which is thin in the auricles, thick in the ventricle. Then the same thing you are going to describe in the text.
Yes.
Even if you forget 1 or 2 points in the text, your labelings will help you to get complete marks. So don't use any colors, don't use crayons, don't use color pencils, don't use any pencil. In case if you are so particular, if your teachers say that you can use colors to demarcate the parts, then it is better to use 2 color pencils that are available in the stationery shop. One is called hematoxylin pencil, the other is called eosin pencil. Eosin pencil will be pink in color, hematoxylin will be purplish in color. So, to depict the cytoplasm of any cell, of any tissue, plant or animal, you can use the pink color. To depict the nucleus of any cell, you can use the hematoxylin pencil. Apart from these 2 colors, don't use any color pencils, especially the red color, especially the green color, which are used by the valuers and also the reviewers. Don't use such colors. So,
Madam, you very well said that once the children draw the diagrams, they can very well have the printed memory. It will be like a photographic memory where they can describe both the structure as well as the function. So one example is the best example what you have given, the heart example. So even our children can remember how the blood flows in the heart. They can even describe like the systole, diastole and double circulation, everything depending on the diagram that they have learned. So the entire learning is depending on the diagram, how they are practicing. It is an excellent thing.
excellent thing, that's what. See, if I say xeroxing, I mean to say that arrow marks have to be used, which is used for to show the blood circulation.
Exactly.
As she said, double circulation. So double pump. To show that, learn the arrow marks also. There is no harm.
Yes.
Okay, that will help you to remember. That will help you to describe. But you concentrate on only the question that is being asked, where you are just being asked to draw the diagram. To explain double circulation, use the arrow marks. Otherwise, don't use it.
Yes.
If you are asked to describe the structure of the heart, then there is no need to use the arrow marks. So, like that, you can save time also
Yes,
by not doing things which are not
can be
necessary.
done through learning the diagram. That is an excellent part what is being explained by
And
you, madam.
lastly, I'll tell one more thing, last thing, sorry. Because for any biology student, observation under the microscope is very important. Because some things, little things which cannot be seen with the naked eye and perceived, they are seen through the microscope, which is an optical instrument that magnifies the image of the object. So when you see, whatever you see in the practical class under the microscope, you try to draw the diagram of the same as an observation diagram. That will help you in remembering the part under or the example under observation. For example, if you are studying this larva in the beginning of the year, so at the end of the year you will have an examination. So there will be no revision or repetition. If you have such a diagram, you can easily identify this and write the text that you know about the larva. So for any biology student, such a biological, that is a diagram which is observational, as seen under the microscope, as seen by your own eyes, is very, very important. Please practice this. Don't copy the same thing from the text as an observation diagram. This is an important thing for a biology student.
That's excellent, madam. Now it is time to take up some questions from the viewers. So some of the questions are available on the chat box. So please explain about labeling. Labeling is already explained, I believe.
Above there is
How to draw 3D drawings. How to draw 3D drawings, as I have observed in this session, madam has told how to put the dots and lines to give the the diagram coming out of the paper kind of feeling. That is the feeling that madam has shown. So if you can observe some of the diagrams over here.
See, for example, if you don't mind, see now this is something like a 3D sketch, this one, because here you can see the breadth, the height, the depth of the structure. This is 3D. So like this, you will have some diagrams. But I think for a student, if you acquire the shape and if you know the interior by shape only, by symmetry only, you can learn to create a three-dimensional picture. But from the point of view of examination, a 2D sketch is more than enough. 3D sketches are not asked. Always the diagram, say for example, if I say this is the diagram of the heart, it is flat without any dimension. But you can give it a two-dimensional picture, that is by putting dots in the wall of the heart chambers, putting a few dots on the blood vessels. So like that, 2D sketches are more than enough in the examination, because you will not have time and it is a waste of time. What you are required to do is that whether you know about the heart, whether you can represent it on a paper, whatever that you have done. So if the purpose is served, don't bother about it. So if you become an artist, or if you have any passion for an artistry, using a nib and ink and pen and pencil and paint, then you can do it with other objects also. But for the study purpose, this is more than enough. And if you do it honestly, all of you will be 100 marks scorers. That I will promise you.
Then there is one more question. Without labeling the diagram, is it useful? Definitely, madam has been describing without labeling a diagram, it doesn't contain much meaning. So without labeling, the diagram is not a biological diagram. That is what
Yes,
madam
one
has
more
been
point.
explaining.
One more point. See, without labelings, it has no value from the point of view of a valuer, because even I have done valuation, because from the total marks we divide a few percentage to diagram, a few percentage to labels. And usually in PUC, we used to give half mark for one labeling. Okay? And about 8 labels were expected from a complicated diagram. For a simple diagram of 2 marks, say, or 4 marks, the number of labels will be lesser, but don't take any risk. Take a complete chance of knowing all the labels and label them. Whatever you know, you label them. Don't count on the number of labels, because half mark or quarter mark will be given for a label. Instead of that, learn all the labels, write everything, you will get complete marks. Nobody will bargain, no teacher can bargain. So this has a spelling mistake, let me not give marks. Okay? This is a wrong label, I will not give marks.
Nowadays, the number of labelings is also mentioned in the question. Label
Yes.
any 4 parts, label only these parts depending on the function. Such questions are asked, so there is more specificity in the question itself. Let us come to the next question. Ma'am, how to do the histology diagrams? Probably one of the diagrams from plant system.
Have a 5 minutes time?
Yeah, you take it time. It's still there. Sometimes it goes on.
Parenchyma, collenchyma,
Madam,
sclerenchyma,
one
kind
more
of things.
question. One more question. Somebody is also little.
Okay. Let me.
What is your opinion on tracing diagram?
Let me. So instead of paper, I love board and chalk paste because I'm a teacher. Okay. So now, she was asking about. Somebody was asking about histology. As you know, histology is science of tissues, and you know that a tissue is a group of similar cells. Cells similar in shape, similar in size, similar in structure, having the same function. This you have to remember. If you remember this, a tissue study becomes very easy. And I take the example of squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium first. Because squamous epithelium is a type of epithelial tissue. Epithelium, epi meaning upon, thelium meaning to cover. To cover upon this internal organs or any organ on the external side, that layer is made up of epithelial tissue. So one simpler type of epithelium is the skin epithelium, that is squamous epithelium, stratified. So instead of bothering about the classification, let me take it in a simple way. So squamous epithelium consists of squama, meaning plate-like. You know that plates are thin. They are not thick. They are thin and expanded, correct? So the scales of fishes, the scales of snake, they are all plate-like and flat. So when I say the cells are squamous-like, that is plate-like. So the shape should be broader, and in the case of squamous epithelium, the cell is not regularly shaped because the skin is stretchable. The shape changes, okay? So you can give any shape, but don't break the ends. Don't leave a gap. In an epithelium, there should not be any gap. Nothing should come out, nothing should get inside. So, to make the cells like this, go on join like this. Don't be bothered much about the shape in the squamous epithelium. You should be bothered about the size of the cells. Write one cell, learn one squamous epithelial cell. The same thing you add them to the sides. That's all. This becomes a squamous epithelium. So if you know the shape of the cell, then make a group of cells. That becomes the tissue. So in any tissue, the prominent organ which you have to show, especially in the case of an epithelium, the cells are very thin. The nucleus will be quite, it appears bigger, but the cell is spread and flat. So the nucleus should look bigger, and the nucleus of all the cells should be of almost the same size. And nucleus, darken the nucleus, make it dark. Using 2B pencil, make it dark. To show the cytoplasm, put dots like this. As I showed you, in a neat way you put the dots. Okay? So whenever you write a cell, whenever you write a tissue, the cytoplasm must be depicted and the cell nucleus must be shown, because both are obvious under the microscope. So this is about squamous epithelium. When I say that is columnar epithelium, column meaning pillar-like. That means they are taller than broad. Taller like this than broad. And makes similar cells. And as I understand, they all rest on a basement membrane. And the cells have a nucleus which is oval in shape and basal in position. So, darken the nucleus once again here and cytoplasm. Show the cytoplasm. They have a broader free end and a narrow posterior end. So, if you are asked to draw the diagram of a tissue, take a few cells, say 4 or 5 cells. That is more than enough. You need not draw a chain of 100 cells, 50 cells. No. Some 5-6 cells if you draw, it is more than enough, because it is a diagrammatic representation. That's how we
represents the entire tissue.
And that is a characteristic to the entire tissue. So the depiction, it means the same. It gives the same meaning. So that's about the animal tissue. Then something about the plant tissues,
There is one more question, madam.
Shall I
Can we
say?
use tracing while drawing? Is one of the questions from the viewer.
Never. When I say you that don't use your geometry box to draw a circle, You should not take the help of any such things. No tracing should be done, because in the examination, who will allow you to trace the diagram? Okay?
What
Please don't do.
for record?
Practice it. Not even if you practice in the record, you can draw in the exam. If you trace in the record, then you will be caught. Okay? Taking traces. That's a malpractice. Don't do it. Then about the plant tissues. So, yes, one thing I forgot to tell here. In animal cells, there is no much space in between the cells in some of the tissues. Only in some tissues there will be intercellular larger spaces, especially the blood, which is the liquid tissue. But in the case of plant tissues, we don't have that is such complicated organs and organ systems in the body, but they have many specialized tissues. Just as an animal, they have a cavernous tissue, they have a conducting tissue, they have a tissue which helps in respiration, and like that. I'm a zoologist. I may not be very correct in describing, giving more details. I have a little apprehension that I may commit mistake, but just as an example, I'll show you a few cells of the plant, like the parenchyma tissue and then the sclerenchyma and other tissues. Here also, the shape of cell is important, size is important, equal size, equal same shape. That's it, same structure. That's important. In the case of parenchyma, as Madam was telling, unlike the epithelial tissue, here there are no irregular edges. No irregular edges are there. Some
Because of the presence of cell walls.
Cell
they
wall.
have definite rigidity.
plant cells, they have thick cell wall made up of cellulose. So that's why they have usually angular shapes. The angles may be very much demarcated, sharp, or may be blunt. Depends upon the tissue, flexibility of the tissue. So here, in the case of parenchyma tissue, once again, joining end to end becomes important. You must be clever enough to join the lines so that the shape will not get altered. Say for example, so be clever in drawing the previous lines so that we can expand it something like this to make it look similar, size similar, structure similar later on. So you have to take the lines in such a way. Say for example, if I take these two wrong lines, I will get a very odd shaped cell. Then this becomes much more order. That's why you choose the lines in such a way that the lines are not inconvenient for you to take an angle. So this is about the parenchyma tissue, and here at the junction of the cells, here at the junction between adjacent cells, there will be a triangular area represented, because these thickened cell wall regions, they will hold the cells together. That's why you give an angular look here and darken this area to show that they are joined end to end with a thick cell wall, and even make the line thicker. Again, what do we do with that?
नहीं कोई problem.
So the lines, make the lines thicker. When you draw the plant tissue, make the line thicker. When you draw the animal cell, make the line thinner. Okay? That is another point which I have remembered. So like this, you can represent parenchyma cell, and nucleus idalli ಏನು peripheral ಹೇಗೆ parenchyma So you know that in the case of plant cells, usually there will be a central vacuole, large water-filled or water-like liquid-filled space will be in the center, pushing the nucleus and cytoplasm to the periphery. So what you do is have one end for the nucleus, darken it, and fill the interior of the cell here with small dots, that is showing protoplasm. And you can show a vacuole as an empty space to give an idea that it is transparent. It is not opaque. Okay? If you put dots or if you shade it, it will give an opaque appearance. It will mislead you from learning. So don't fill anything in the center. Wherever there is a vacuole, in the animal cell or in the plant cell, vacuole should be shown as very thin walled. Using HB pencil you do that. Very thin walled empty spaces.
Yes,
So-
madam, the next question is coming. What is the most important while drawing observed specimen?
Observed specimen.
Observed specimen.
Okay. What is observation? What is observation?
The
Say for
specimen
example,
we observe under the
See,
microscope.
yes. See, according to me, a diagram with a specimen, bottle specimen,
What is
or a specimen under the microscope, that is on the slide and observed under the microscope, or a specimen in wind, or a specimen in a field.
Yes.
All these help you in better learning. Without specimen, biology becomes very lifeless. You must have a specimen, seen, you must be shown a specimen, then you must be made to draw the diagram. You must be shown a microscopic animal, then must be asked to draw the diagram. So observation is very important. If I say observation, that includes keenness. The observation should be very keen. Just as you observe the jewelry of a heroine on a screen. It should be so keen that no part should be missed. So now, as I said, I have showed you an observation sketch. I'll show you this. See, this is an animal called liver fluke. Okay, this is flat in nature. It is a flat worm. Okay, and this can be seen with the naked eye also, but a small specimen of it was mounted on the slide and we observed it for details of structure. I told you that if we cannot perceive anything through the eye, then we use a microscope. There are two types of microscope: dissection microscope to observe the whole animal, and a compound microscope for viewing tissues, histology, or details, very, very minute details. So this is an observation of an animal under the dissection microscope, which can be used for dissection also, to remove mouth parts, to remove and study legs of cockroach, like that. So this is a flatworm, and when I observed it under the microscope, I was able to see this, like this, and I was able to see only two little black spots. They represent the eyes, and I was able to see these two corners, like ears of us. They are called auricles. And this tail end was sharp. So I was able to say that the broad end is anterior, the pointed end is posterior. So now for a gross observation like this, if you have to study the entire animal for minimal observation, external observation, gross observation, this is more than enough. But you have to label so that you will never forget. You can identify if it is given in the examination. When you go to higher classes, you will be made to study animals under the microscope in bottled specimens, and if you study them, where are the eyes, how are the eyes, how many legs are there, how the legs look like, how long is the tail, what is the color, what is the texture of the skin, how is the mouth shaped, is it rounded, crescent-like, etc. You have to observe all those things. So, if you observe all those details, you can make a better diagram. And when you draw the diagram of a rat looks like a rat. Otherwise, it may look like a fish. That's why observation is very, very important. So a proper observation with an illustration and a scientific study will make your study complete, will make you an expert biologist. And so
We are coming
Up.
here.
I'll thank them.
आप नहीं
I'll-
you will thank you will thank
ನಾನು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ
आप भी बोलिए वो बोलेगी
बाद में ओके
आप
थैंक यू वेरी मच
So in this session we have learned from Madam Shashikala, who is an eminent professor and got her post-graduation in zoology, is well versed with all the diagrams, histological diagrams, then organ diagrams as well as the diagrams of specimens which can be observed under the microscope, or the macro specimens which can be kept in the museums. All these diagrams she is very well versed, and she has been contributing a lot towards even the textbook diagrams. Then her diagrams have been depicted in various publications. So this gives an excellent opportunity for children to get inspired, especially the students who are aspiring to take up life science. They get more inspiration to get into the research field, especially nowadays it is becoming more technology oriented. But going back to the study of the true science or the basic science has become very less. And these are the people who are inspiring the young minds to come back to the basic science and do a lot of research on that. And the idea of drawing a diagram is very, very important when we are researching on a particular species or about a particular thing, whatever is our observation. So our observation goes only with the documentation. The written documentation can be only with the depiction with illustrations. So illustrations become utmost important. So with this, I would like to thank Shashikala Madam with her immense knowledge and her willingness to share all her knowledge to the next generation, and also have a lot of patience to answer all type of questions from our viewers. I thank her wholeheartedly. I also thank the panel which is present over here, which has given an opportunity for us to interact with the young minds of India, RMNH.
It's over.
over no problem here it is
Hey,
continued it is
Correction was not said, no, why?
no, you can continue
You can continue.
shall I hear about
no, here we are recording you can continue
ಇನ್ನೂ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ
I mean you can continue
Madam, you please.
it is recording
There is a recording there.
me
No, you please continue with
It's being
your
recorded.
thanks
Please
and
continue.
ಓಕೆ ಈಗ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತೃಭಾಷೆಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ, ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದು ತುಂಬ ಕಂಫರ್ಟಬಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಷ್ಟು ಹೊತ್ತು ನೀವು ಸಹನೆಯಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನನಗೆ ತಿಳಿದದ್ದನ್ನು ನಿಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಿದ್ದನ್ನು ನಿಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತುಂಬ ಆಸೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಇದನ್ನು RMNH ಮೈಸೂರಿನವರು ನನಗೆ ನೆರವೇರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಇಡೀ ಟೀಮಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ಫುಲ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್. ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನು ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಹಾಡಿನಿಂದ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ. ಇದು ನಾನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದಾರೆ ನೀವು ನನಗೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಹಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಇದು ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರವಾಗಿ ನಡೆದಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ. ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬಳು ಟೀಚರ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು 30 ವರ್ಷ ನನಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಿದ್ದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಇವತ್ತು, ಮುಂದೆ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರು, ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮುಂದೇನು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಟೀಚರ್ಸಿಂದಾನೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಡೀ ದೇಶವೇ ಒಂಥರ ಮೌಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಗುರು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಗುರು ವಿಷ್ಣು ಗುರುದೇವೋ ಮಹೇಶ್ವರ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಶ್ಲೋಕ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದು ಏನಂದರೆ ಹಾಡಿನ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ. ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ, ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ, ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ, ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ. ಪ್ರತಿ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು 5ನೇ ತಾರೀಕಿನ ದಿನ, ಪ್ರತಿ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು 5ನೇ ತಾರೀಕಿನ ದಿನ ಆಚರಣೆ ಮಾಡುವೆವು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಬ್ಬವ. ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ, ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ, ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ. ನಾವ್ಯಾರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ, ನಾವ್ಯಾರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ, ನಾವ್ಯಾರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ, ನಾವ್ಯಾರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ, ನಾವ್ಯಾರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ, ನಾವ್ಯಾರಿಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ. ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯ. ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ, ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ.
Thank you, madam. ನಿಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಡೇ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Teacher never retires. A teacher is only born.
Yogendra want to come.
Thank you very much. This wonderful session on Teachers' Day. It was very good and very interactive, and we thought of having a classroom over here. And I think even there was a lot of chat and the communication by the participants. They're all happy and they mean it. And they got a lot of information through this classroom, they said, and we have received a lot of good opinions on this. And on behalf of all the participants and on behalf of Naturalist Museum, I extend my heartfelt thanks to first of all to the Shashikala madam. She has wonderfully done. Almost we went to our classrooms. We were the students. We were listening carefully. Though we may not get the chance to write the biological diagrams now onwards, but still it was so interesting. I once again thank Shashikala madam. And nevertheless, madam, Geeta Soumya madam, being a teacher, and it means a lot because we have two teachers on this occasion. And being a moderator, she has done exclusively well structured questions, which really make this session very interactive and very valuable session. And on behalf of Naturalist Museum and on behalf of the participants, I just take this opportunity to thank you, madam. So kind of you.
Thank you, Geeta.
A lot of pain to
My
come
thanks
here,
to you.
and yeah, thank you so much.